Hi, Sue.
Hello.
It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
I'm so happy to see that our wavelengths were the same this morning and we showed up matching, although I don't have the beautiful graphic on my shirt that you
The
do.
heart.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can't totally see it if you want to
Oh,
like
let me show you. But
yes.
even
Oh,
still, we're wearing matching black t-shirts. So will you go to Sadie
yes.
Hawkins with me?
Yes, I thought you'd never ask.
I'm asking.
Yes. Isn't it crazy to think that that was a thing? Okay, that was a thing back in the
That was
day.
a
And
thing.
yeah. Was it a
Hmm.
thing for you to where you had to like do like a big production of asking? Like you had to like do a whole
I
presentation?
I don't ever remember asking anyone to go.
Really? Okay.
I think I was more rebellious then, and I was like,
Hmm.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So,
More
I
rebellious
don't.
then? Is that I mean
Uh-oh. Yes. Even more then. I've softened in my old age.
I, well, you're wearing hearts on your shirt now too. So
That's true. That's true.
so Sue, before I introduce her, she is known, well, this is part of her introduction, I suppose, for having a beautiful collection of t-shirts that are expressive or share a thought. I'm curious if the heart has a particular meaning for you today.
Absolutely. And I wore it specifically for you today because I am all about, in this season of life, being heart centered and
Hmm.
supporting heart centered women and
Hmm.
helping them rise. And so I specifically wore this because I love you and
Yes.
also because it represents that this is what we need to tap into and activate. And this will lead us. Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
Cleansing breath. You breathe right into
Yes.
it and it starts to activate.
Oh my gosh. This could not be a more perfect segue into your intro. I love that so much. Sue is the person that single-handedly changed the way, not even changed, but introduced me to the word mindset. And others that have come before me have said as much the same. And it was not something that I had ever even considered or thought of intentionally before I joined a coaching program where she was a coach. We call her the queen of mindset, and she has this way of going a layer or two or three or maybe even five deeper than you ever thought possible. But she does it in a way, and I said this also about Gina, who I've interviewed, and who's also colleagues with Sue, and also friends, that they have a way of doing it in a way that doesn't feel intimidating or makes you feel uncomfortable. It's like in this warm blanket, like, oh, this actually feels okay. Maybe I'm interested in this conversation. Maybe I'll try that out. And I think for Sue, so much of that is in her thoughtfulness and her presence. And we were talking about another friend of ours, a mutual friend, and talking about her authenticity. And it's a word that I use for Sue as well. And I think we use that word a lot lately. It's a bit trendy, but ultimately, the people that embody that are the people you want to be around. And they're the folks that lead in such with such integrity in every space that they're in. So I can't say enough about what she's done for me and to help me shift not only the way I think about the world, but how I specifically interact with it. And she's made me cry more than once in front of hundreds of people. So,
I do love it when people cry. It's
oh
my
my
favorite.
God. Well, you're great at it. It's really impressive to witness too, though, because it's such a, I feel like it's a release, I think sometimes for folks too, right? It's not
It absolutely
necessarily,
is.
yeah, right? It's not just like, oh, I feel an
When I
emotion.
see there, it's basically release flying out of your face. That's all
Yeah.
it is. And when I see that happening, I know there's something shifting inside. And then I
Hmm.
know we're on the right track.
Hmm.
And so we keep pulling
Yes.
on that thread because we're digging into something deeper. If there's if there's water coming out of your eyes, we've hit on something really important.
Well, that must be happening to me daily then, because I cry a lot.
Good.
Yeah. We always laugh, my husband and I. It's like we're the crying family. My kids will be like, "Are these happy tears? Like, what's going on here?"
I love it.
So, welcome, Sue. Thank you for being here. And I just can't wait for folks to get to meet you.
Thank you for having me. And what a beautiful introduction that was. Thank you.
Of course. I mean, every word, and I could go on and on, but that's not the point. So we're going to keep moving. I was trying to think of where I wanted to start with you. And so I think what we'll start with is, and part of this is my own kind of trying to dig into some of your history without, when you get to know people at this current version or current season of themselves, right? We don't always get a chance to talk about what has brought us to today. And I was looking through some of your work and, over a decade at Intel. So being in corporate environment, moving into coaching, you've worked with Tony Robbins. We'll come back to that. But you're now, as you were talking at the beginning, coaching women navigating power, burnout, politics, and really thinking about coming from this heart-centered space. And this is not a softball question, but I think it's an important one. And I'm curious if you're noticing a theme amongst women at the moment. And I don't mean this as a blanket statement. I recognize we're all individuals, but just patterns or themes that you're seeing about kind of what they're grappling with as they're navigating this, season of their career.
Absolutely. I am totally seeing a theme. And it is that they're exhausted from performing. They're tired of the hustle. They're tired of the people pleasing and what they should be. And they're tired of shrinking because they've spent years being rewarded for compliance, for performing to a certain version of themselves. And it's not necessarily them. And I think as we get older, we get to the point where we say, I don't want to tolerate that anymore. I'm not trying to fit in. I'm trying to let my light shine and lead from that heart-centeredness. That's different than shooting on yourself and trying to fit into a box. I don't like the box.
No.
Yeah.
You have such... Shooting on yourself is now... I know.
I did not make that up.
It's so good. Are you seeing that folks are able, or women are able to, are they saying that out loud, or is it something that you're just seeing as they kind of process, right? Like what's happening as you navigate some of these conversations?
I don't think they necessarily have the words for it.
Yeah.
They feel something is off and they can't necessarily put their finger on it. They just know something doesn't feel right. They wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning and they're like, oh, is this all there is? Or another day. And they've lost that brightness in them.
Yeah. Yes, totally. Isn't that interesting? I wonder if this also correlates. I was sharing with somebody about a program that I was in last year, this leadership program I've told you about through the chamber here. And I said, it's the first time I've wanted something really badly in a really long time. Like, I can't remember the last time I was like, I want that. Like, I want that so bad. And I think there's something similar in that where it's the spark or the joy or the excitement of life had kind of just been muted because it was just so many years of kind of, one foot in front of the other and keeping going. And I wonder, does that feel the same to you? Like, are you noticing that women when that spark starts to come back, that they're getting more excited about things again or more
Absolutely.
interested in things? Yeah.
Absolutely. By the way, I remember when you were talking about that program and you did light up saying, I'm going to do this thing. And that's exactly it. When you start to feel that, like you're kind of physically leaning in, oh, I'm going to do this program or I'm going to do this thing. Life is precious. And I like to tell my clients, don't wait for the thing. Do the thing because we're not promised anything. And I feel very strongly that when you are activated here in your heart center, that it doesn't lie to you. This lies to me a lot. And sometimes it'll tell me I should do this, or who do you think you are? Or maybe you're not enough. But when I'm coming from here and getting answers deep inside of me, never leads me astray. And so I think that when I see women start to touch on to something, I just had a client this week. This is exactly what happened. She touched on something. Our sessions are totally different now. She's a completely different client showing up on the calls because she said, I just didn't realize this was a possibility. And I want everyone to be obsessed with possibility. You're going to ask yourself better questions. You're going to make different decisions when you have that obsession. And
I
that's where
love
the light
that.
starts to come back.
Yes, I feel like that is also um, one of my favorite quotes of yours, and I might mess it up, so you can correct me, but it's our minds are gonna make up our minds are gonna make shit up, so you might as well make it good shit. Am I saying it
Basically, yeah.
right-ish?
If
Yeah,
we're meaning
okay.
making machines, we really
Yes.
are. Make up the meaning to everything. So
Mm-hmm.
if we have that ability to make things up and make the label and define the story ourselves, let's make up good shit. Why would we
Yes.
make it something that is disempowering to us?
Yeah. Well, I wonder too. Yeah, I mean, I think okay, we're gonna go. We're going way off. I knew this was gonna happen. Like, we have so much to talk about around what it means to be a woman at this season of life. I think, because you and I are in such similar spaces and we've navigated, similar seasons. But I want to start first by maybe rewinding back to early days of and we don't have to talk necessarily specifics around your years at Intel, but I'm curious, as you're moving out of corporate life, and this is really, I think, topical for women right now that have spent, decades in corporate, and similar to what you were saying, are waking up going, you know what? I'm not sure if this is it. And I'm grateful for what I've done and I'm excited about it, or I'm, proud of what I've accomplished, but maybe this isn't my path for the rest of my career. And so there's questions happening around, do I leave? Do I start my own thing? Do I, do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is? And I can see a lot of women that I either chat with or work with who kind of keep coming back to that question, but aren't totally ready yet to make the jump. And I'm wondering, I know this was a while ago, but do you remember what that moment was like when you knew that it was time for you to leave that environment?
Well, with Intel, they let me go.
Well, so you
They
knew because they told you.
they knew because they told me, and I'm a good listener. And I said, huh? Actually, they let me go. I was on maternity leave after my second child, and they let me go 2 days after my mom's funeral. And so it was, and the person delivering the message, she felt terrible, but she was tasked to do it.
Oh my God, I did not
It
know
was
this.
all of us. Yeah, it was all of us who had been there over 10 years seemed to be let go. Interesting. And it
Whoa.
just showed me I was only a number. There was
Mm-hmm.
no consideration for the fact that I had these things going on in my personal life. I just had a baby. I had been there for 12 years. Think
Wow.
of all the tribal knowledge that walked right out the door when I left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful for my time there. I learned so much. And it was a great launching pad for me to first be at home with my baby, my second
Mm-hmm.
baby and my toddler,
Mm-hmm.
and then start thinking about how do I reinvent myself from here?
Interesting. Yes. Do you feel like it's so interesting because there's so many of us that have met a moment like that, right? Mine happened 3 years ago when the company I worked for imploded. And I wonder still, what would the path have looked like for me had that not happened, right? And had I just kind of kept going and not stopped to ask myself those questions. Were
Mhm.
you already in the process of asking yourself some of those questions around what you wanted or what you were seeking out of a career? Or did that kind of happen by virtue of, now being in this new space and having to really figure it out?
Well, it's interesting. At that age, I wasn't really, so I was in my mid 30s. I was not thinking about what do I want? What does
Yeah.
my story look like? I didn't have the capacity to think that way at that time. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have some time at home with the babies, which I did, which is my favorite part of my whole history is being with the babies.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until later on that I started questioning, what do I want? Because
Yeah.
I was always taught, take the safe route.
Mm.
Intel's a great company, you have stock options, you have good benefits, and you should take the safe route. Well, it wasn't safe, now was it? Because they
Mhm.
let me go. So it's all an illusion of
Yeah.
safety, and having that certainty of that paycheck at Intel went right out the door. I only learned a couple jobs later that the certainty I'm seeking is me. It's not the
Mm.
company. I'm
Mm.
the certainty.
Yes.
I'm the
Yes.
safety. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit of a late bloomer, so it took me a while to to understand that that's what it is.
But I think that's so relevant. It's relevant always, but even more so today than ever, where I was actually just chatting with a woman yesterday where we were talking exactly, you said it perfectly, that illusion of safety, because it's easy to tell ourselves a story of what security looks like and
Yeah.
what that might feel like. And those of us that have had that rug pulled out from under us, I think got to peek behind the curtain and go, whoa, the wizard's back. Like, what's going on? You know, this is not as safe or secure as I might have thought. What questions, maybe not what questions were you asking yourself, but like what started coming up for you, you know, as you walked through some of those next careers that got you going, okay, this is what I'm starting to find that I'm drawn to. How did you find yourself listening to that? Right? Like, so at what point, maybe let's start with your Intel babies. What was the next step after that? Like, where did you find yourself moving into?
I was working in a small business doing recruiting.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that either. Okay. Tell me more.
We need more lunch dates. But what I still didn't figure it out. I still didn't see it. I was in the matrix. You know, I still didn't see it. And then I ended up working for Tony Robbins. And just like I felt at Intel, I thought I'm going to be here forever. You know, loyalty is one of my top core values. And so I felt like I'm going to be at Tony Robbins forever. And that wasn't the way that it worked out. And so it wasn't even till after Tony Robbins, which boy, did I grow so much working there and really started to learn who I am and what I want and go deeper on my confidence and the things that I believe in. It wasn't even then that I figured it out. I still didn't see it. It is like the Matrix. You know, it wasn't until I took the red pill. I think it's the red pill.
No, you don't want to get red pill. Oh, yes. Red pill is when, yes. Yeah, the red pill
was when you can see. Okay.
Yes.
It wasn't until I finally, first of all, saw there was a red pill. And then I took the red pill and all of a sudden I'm making cookies with the Oracle and watching some kid bend a spoon. And I'm like, I didn't even know this side of life existed. And now where I am, I think about that whole thing as a metaphor, of course, and the kid bending the spoon with his mind. And I think, is there even a spoon? Maybe there never even is a spoon. Not in my version. So, like I said, it's taken me a little while to get to this point, but see things so much clearer. And I'm sure a year from now, I'm going to tell you I see things even more clear because that's how development works. Goes.
That's the most irritating part of it. Is this never ending?
I want it now. Yeah.
Every time I'm like, okay, oh no, shit, there's still so much more evolution that has to happen. But I think to your point, once you've I was laughing a little bit because the red pill, like the way we talk about that today is like the manosphere, right? Like that's like they call it being red pilled. And so we're not talking about that, everybody. We're talking about a different kind of
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Neo. We're talking about Neo.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is like once though that has happened, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's just not possible.
No.
Like once you have seen that and you don't like to say woken up because it doesn't feel right. Because it's not like I'm trying to say that those that haven't experienced that or seen that are asleep by any stretch. It's just that there are folks, I think, that kind of find each other at this stage because we've all seen something and gone, okay, hold up. Like, this ain't it. I don't want to do it that way anymore. And I think to find the community of people, kind of like what you're doing with your cohort of women, it's so important to have that support, because if you don't and you're trying to flail, I mean, I wonder, did you have that kind of community as you were navigating some of these questions for yourself when you were looking around and going, wait, yeah, see, I think that might be part of it, right?
I didn't find my tribe until probably my mid 40s, and now in my mid 50s, I mean, I'm spot on. I know how to see a gem in the first 5 minutes. And so I know who my people are now. And it's not to say that I don't talk to anyone who's not in my sphere. It's just the people that are on the inside, they get me.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to like have a disclaimer about stuff. Right.
I'm unapologetically me with them, and they get it. And they are the same with me. And it's it's safety. The safety was never in the company. The safety is in your community, which includes your family or your spouse or partner or whatever. Like once you find that community, it's like a welcoming home.
Totally. Yes. And to your point, it doesn't mean that you're not still in a different kind of community with other folks, right, in your ecosystem, but it's to me, it's almost that protection of energy, or like, this is the version of like what I'm going to allow to be seen. One of my favorite things you've shared with me recently was, I will still do this thing where I have a disclaimer around my woo-woo, where I'm like, isn't it a little woo-woo? And you're like, why do you do that? Like, you're doing that to try and make the other person feel comfortable when like you yourself feel comfortable with all of it. Like, why are you doing that? And I think about it all the time now, and I'm like, damn it, I still do it. I still do it. And not as much, right? But I still...
Well, and maybe we just need to, remember, make up good shit. So maybe we need to label it in a way that's more empowering. Like, instead of saying, well, this might sound a little woo, maybe we say, this is energetically speaking, and then say because that's what it is. This is quantum physics, a lot of this stuff. It's everything is energy. This pen is energy. And so maybe that's the way we categorize it, so that people understand, because woo has kind of a weird connotation.
It really does. I know.
And it's not weird.
No, it's literal science and physics.
Yes.
I remember when I say a lot about how the last few years I've gotten to know myself again, or I'm getting to know myself again. I imagine there's a lot of women that you work with that go through a similar process and evolution. And early days, I had said to my husband, like, I mean, I know this is going to sound weird. Like, but I'm like, I know I'm like really into the woo. Like, I'm like a woo woo gal. And he's like, boo, are you just figuring this out about yourself? Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And he said something similar where he's like, also, it's not woo. It's like what you embody and what you believe. And that's not woo. Like, that's just, it is. And it's just so funny because I think there are just still things in the world that feel a little bit like, if there isn't a clear explanation, or it's not based in, scientific fact, or it can make people feel a bit uncomfortable. And so I find myself still doing that, but I like your reframing. So I'll be thinking about that going forward.
Good.
You shared, so was it from the recruiting job and then you moved into working with Tony Robbins? Remind me, was that the season when you were like, I know I want that and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to that?
Yes.
Whether it's, yes. Say a little bit about that, because I think it's so powerful and such an important part of the story.
So I walked out of a job. I guess there was a very short job after the recruiting. I walked out of that job. It was incredibly toxic. And I just had an epiphany one day. I had ordered some Tony Robbins CDs off of Amazon, and I was listening to them once the kids went to school. And I remember having this epiphany of, oh, I'm a coach. Like, I just didn't realize I had that skill. I didn't know that's what it was called, but I had been coaching people my whole life. And I decided I was going to get into coaching school and get the certification. I had a dream one night that I worked for this guy, Tony Robbins, and I didn't really know much about him. I bought the CDs and I'd seen him in Shallow Hal, but I didn't really know that much. And so I woke up the next morning and I remember calling my cousin and saying, I had this really weird dream. So I went and looked on his site. Yes, he does hire coaches. Long story short, I applied, and out of 500 people that applied, 80 of us got interviews. And out of the 80, 42 of us got into what he calls the Coaches Academy, which he lovingly refers to as a mini Navy SEALs training. That's true. It was not easy. And out of those 42, 18 of us got a job offer at the end of the 3 months of the academy. And
that's amazing. Someone
said to me along the way, but what if you don't get in? And I was like, what? Like, it didn't even cross my mind that I wouldn't get in. I was so laser focused on what I was doing. I felt absolutely unstoppable. That's when I started to reacquaint myself with me. Like, oh yeah, I know how to go after what I want. And I wanted that.
And you did it. And this continues to be something that bops around in my mind for myself and for others that I, am around in this season of life is it kind of like this idea of manifestation, right? Which is again a word that can mean something very different to so many people and the way you interpret it and what that looks like. But to me, that's what that is. It's, you want something or you have this thing, or it's almost like you don't even know. Want isn't even maybe the right word. It's just you feel destined for this thing, and therefore all of your energy aligns to that. And right, I'm curious though about the want part, or the actually knowing what you want. Like, sometimes I wonder if it's as basic as that. Like, how many of us actually know what we want? Because I do wonder if we really knew and we felt like we could give ourselves permission to say that out loud, what would that look like for people? Because then manifestation, you don't even have to say that word. It's just you are now aligning everything to that goal or whatever you want to call it. And so there is a question here. I'm getting to it, I promise. But I wonder about the like knowing ourselves enough to know what it is we actually want. And are you getting a sense that people really know what they want at this stage? Or is that part of the uncovering and the getting to know themselves again as they give themselves permission to even ask these questions in the first place?
It's part of the uncovering. I think a lot of women don't know. They're very good at checking boxes. They're very good at doing what they should be doing. They have a life on the outside that looks very successful. And it is.
Yeah.
It's just that they're high capacity. They can hold so much.
Right.
But they don't really understand what do they really want in this season of their life, because seasons change.
Yeah.
And so what do they want now? And then how do you put words around it? Because sometimes they don't even have the words for it. They just know something feels off. And I think that knowing that's the trick. When you feel it in your intuition and in your heart, and that's how I felt about Tony Robbins. It was like, I'm going to be a coach on that team. It felt in my body, it felt like that's the path.
Mm-hmm.
And there was so many reasons why I didn't need to do that. But when you get laser focused on something, you kind of have a get the hell out of my way kind of an attitude.
Yes.
And I put everything into it. Everything. Like every assignment I had to do was done a day before it was due. And I was like on it. I was totally on it. And so I had no doubt in my mind of what I was going to be able to do. And I have been able to carry that forward. So now when I'm trying to make a decision, if I want something, I check in here.
Yeah.
How does this feel in my body? Do I have this knowing like, oh, this feels right? Because if I'm spinning around about it, it's probably not right. And I think a lot of people aren't tuned into that.
Yeah.
So they don't know exactly what they want.
Yes, I think that is very true. And it's something I've learned about myself, along this path, is how to get comfortable in that silence a little bit and enough to actually hear the answer, because that's part of the scariness of it is like, oh God, what am I going to hear? What if I don't like it? Or what if that seems really audacious or scary or whatever the word is? Like, what if I don't want to listen to myself? What if I'm not ready to hear it yet? I think there's something there too around, maybe it's there. Someone said recently they work with women as well. And she said, always listen for the second whisper from what someone's sharing with you, which is they'll say, oh, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, but I'm also kind of thinking about this other little thing, maybe.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's the thing. That's the thing that they actually want to be doing, or that they're called to be doing, or would benefit from their energy. But they're so afraid to like let themselves say that out loud that it's easier to say, this is this thing that I can see a clear path for, or it makes sense, quote unquote, in the, real world. And so, but she's like, just always listen for that second piece. And I was like, that's so brilliant.
And it's not even being able to see the clear path.
Totally.
I don't even think you need that. What's
Oh
your
no, that's what
why?
I'm saying. Yeah, that part, there's no clear path. I think it's like we can focus on the thing, right, that feels like the clear path, and forget about
Yes.
the thing that feels a little bit more nebulous, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that.
And I love the whisper. Yes, I think that's true. And I think that people are afraid to say things out loud because they're afraid of failure.
Hmm.
But okay, so what is failure? What meaning are you assigning to failure? I don't even like to use that word
Yeah.
because I don't really believe in that. I believe that you can make a decision and you might have to pivot and do something different. But if you're having failures, you're making yourself wrong and you're saying you
Hmm.
are at fault.
Hmm.
So if I get a flat tire, does that mean I'm a failure? No.
Yes. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, you're a failure. You and your tires. But you see what I mean? I don't want to use
Yes.
disempowering language that makes me wrong in what I'm doing because we're all
Hmm.
doing the best that we can with the knowledge that we have today. And that's also why I believe that when you get activated here, you start making better decisions. I know I have. And
Yeah,
sometimes when
absolutely.
this comes up, I think this does not really make sense. And people are going to say, "What are you doing?"
Hmm.
But I feel it so strongly here. And
Yeah.
when you bet on yourself, I think great things happen.
There's a few things that came out of that I'm so curious about to dig into just a little bit more. I wonder too, specifically for women, how much of it is, yes, there's some around the like fear and the permission, but also this sense of you're meant to be grateful for what you have, and this concern with saying, if I want more, does that make me sound like a privileged asshole? Does that make me sound like I don't already have gratitude for what I have? Does that make me feel like, I'm now throwing the baby out with the bathwater of everything I've built to this moment? And I, of course, have my own answer to this, but I wonder if you're also noticing that with some of the women that you work with. Is there something to this idea that like they're not even allowed to say that because that means then that they're not grateful for what's already happening in their
I
life?
do hear that a lot, these disclaimers. I know that da 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 da, but, and that's making it an either or. Either I'm grateful or I want more.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's a yes and. Yes, I am grateful for all the things, and I do want more. And here's
Yeah.
why I want it. And
Yeah.
so that when you put yourself in the yes and, that shifts everything completely. And why shouldn't you want more? I tell women, be selfish. I don't mean
Mm.
selfish like be a prick. I mean,
Yeah.
be selfish in that you fill your cup first. Because if I'm running around with an empty cup, how can I help anybody else? How can I have the impact that I want to have if I'm
Mhm.
running around empty? And I think that happens more than we think. So
Oh,
I tell women,
yes.
please practice being selfish and see what it does to everybody else in your life and how you feel too. Sometimes we hear the saying like, "Oh, be selfless." I don't want to be without a self. That
Yeah.
sounds very, very empty. I don't want to do that.
I know. Isn't that funny? I still think, and this is the whole point of the title of the show, right? Of kind of a big deal. It's that there is the yes and it doesn't mean, right, that like by embracing the wins and the things that we've done that we're no longer humble or we're just like raging egotistical or
Right.
egomaniacs or whatever, but I think we live a lot in a society that tells us it's one or the other. You're either a humble, grateful, don't think too much about yourself, give, or you're a selfish a-hole that like really only thinks about themselves. There's really not a lot of characters in the world or versions of this life that we get to see where the yes and is where the magic happens. And
Yes.
I think the more we talk about it, the better it is, but we don't get to see it a lot. Or, like a lot of times when we talk about people, to your point, you're like, oh, they were so humble. And that can be gender neutral, right? But it's like, and humility, I think, is different than being selfless, right? It's just a tricky thing that I think folks have a hard time embracing what that looks like because we just don't get to see it a lot.
Yes. You know what I hear all the time is, "I'm not trying to brag, but," and
I
I say, "Whoa, stop,
know.
stop, stop. I want you to brag."
Yeah.
Again, they're not walking around saying, "I'm the most amazing thing you've ever seen."
Yes.
That's being arrogant. But owning your superpowers and owning your accomplishments, why shouldn't we do that?
Yeah. Because we're taught that
And
that's not the way, right? It's, we don't want to,
well,
don't
that is the way.
brag. I know. Have I shared this with you? I know I've shared this on the show before, and I think maybe even in a newsletter, but my 10-year-old daughter had been going through, or and is still kind of in this season of like owning it. And it is magic to watch and witness because, when I was growing up, like I'm not saying from like my, family perspective, but just societally, it was, we don't brag, we don't say the thing, right? And she has been in this like, mommy, I'm like a really good goalie. And like, mommy, do you see
I
this
love
like drawing? Like, I'm really good. Or like, I'll say
it.
like, Maz, your hair looks beautiful today. I know it does. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, oh my God, I love it. And like, but I have to say, I had to seriously check myself because everything in my body wanted to say like, shh, like, we don't do that. We don't say it out loud. Like, yes, of course, I believe that to be true. And I love that you believe that, but like, don't say that too much. Right. Like, I had to seriously, I literally remember being in the shower one day and like putting my hands over my mouth to stop myself because that was just the natural like inclination. And so I have trained myself to say like, fuck yeah, like you're amazing. Like, because
Yeah.
the world will do its job on her at some point, right? The rest of the world
Yeah.
can get to tell her and we'll try to tell her to tamp it down. That's not my job, right? As her
No.
mom. Like, of course, I don't want to raise, again, we're not trying to raise assholes, but like to have
But
her
she's
live
not.
in
So
that.
that doesn't
No,
even
exactly.
come into
But I
play.
think, right. But in your head, you have to your point, you got to get out of your head into your heart and go,
Mhm.
wait a second, what's really happening here? And what do I want her to
Right.
believe about herself? Like, I don't want her to
Yeah.
have to build up her confidence later in life. I want her to like have it.
Right.
And,
Build
let
the
people
armor now.
try. Yes, exactly.
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 I remember when people would compliment me, I would always play it down. Or like
Hmm.
when before I had gray hairs, my hair was black, all the way black, and it would be shiny. And people would say, "Oh my gosh, your hair is so shiny." And I would always, I must have said this 100 times. "Oh, I eat good dog food." Like joking around. I would make a joke out of it to like
So
downplay because
random. Dog
well,
food.
you know how the commercials for Alpo, they're like, if you eat good dog food, your dogs have a shiny coat. So
Like,
I was referring to a shiny coat of a dog. Anyway, the point is, maybe that's a silly example, but the point is that I would downplay it.
yes.
And
Yeah.
even in more recent years, it took me so long to say, I'm a great coach. It
Mm.
didn't feel natural because it felt like it was maybe too much. But like a
Yeah.
song that I heard, if I'm too much, go find less.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm not gonna take up less space anymore.
Yes. Well, and someone made this point recently to me, and I thought it was so beautiful. Like, if someone's giving you a compliment, they're giving you a gift. And by you not receiving
Yeah.
it, by like brushing it off, you're basically saying, like, take the gift back. I'm not interested in that gift, right? People, when they are giving you a compliment, typically are genuinely trying to like share something with you, a piece of themselves, something that they've noticed, right?
Right.
They're not doing it to like make you uncomfortable. But because we're so conditioned to feel uncomfortable with that, like, and I'm speaking to my
Yeah.
own choir here, right? Like I hosted a dinner. I think I shared this with you for the first season of guests back in March, and everyone went around. I had asked everyone to watch another woman's video and come with something ready to like share that they had
I
taken
love
away
that.
from that episode or whatever. And it was beautiful to like witness women getting to hear from strangers, something that they
Mhm.
took a value or thought was amazing. And then it came, and I'm like, okay, done. And then they were like, whoa, 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 we're not done. Like, no one said anything about you yet. And I was mortified. And like, literally, one of my
Mhm.
dearest friends was there, and she's like, stop. Like, you've got to, like, you literally are trying to get around this in any way you can. Like, sit and listen. And I'm like,
Yeah,
ugh, like, everything in my body. It's a practice, right? You have to like
it is.
be conscious of it and allow yourself to receive it. And I'm not there. I have a long ways to go, which is hilarious that I preach this to other people. But I think it's because I know it and it's so hard to do. And
Well,
it's
once you see
important
it,
that,
it gets
yes,
easier. to
Yes,
impact it.
that's
If you
true.
don't even see it, because it's kind of like on Christmas morning when you're a kid and you're opening a present that you don't really like, and everyone's watching you. I feel like that's what it used to feel like getting a compliment. Like everyone's watching you to see
And
how
you're
do you
like,
receive the
oh,
compliment. And then let's
yes.
go deeper because it's not just about receiving the compliment now, is it? It's about
Mm,
receiving love. How well
mm,
do you receive love? And I
mm,
see now I wasn't doing a good job of receiving it. I was deflecting it as a protective mechanism because
mm,
if I reject me first, you can't reject me. Because if you do it, that'll hurt. But if I do, I know what that feels like. So that's okay.
yeah.
So it's so
Oof.
much deeper than what we think.
Always, everything is, right? Which is also
Yes.
irritating.
Yes. Very.
There was another thing that you touched on that I have also been kind of, unraveling for myself and thinking about a lot, which I think it's Tony Robbins that talks about the sage mind. Is that right? Or is it somebody else? And maybe I heard him talk about it, but it's like
He has talked about it. I don't know
okay.
if he
So,
invented it.
okay. Well, so the concept, right, for folks that maybe haven't heard this, it's that knowing, right? It's what you were talking about before, the like being able to sit and listen and hear ourselves and actually allow ourselves to lead from a place that is internal and heart centered and not so much in our head, even though we're saying sage mind. But I think about that sometimes from a, okay, how do we learn how to decipher what is our sage mind and what is like our delusion? Or like a stubbornness, I think is more of the word I'm looking for. Like I literally wrote in my notes one time, like sage mind versus stubbornness. And right, how much of it is, okay, I want to move towards this thing, or I know it's time to evolve into X, Y, or Z. And we get stuck in that. And like, is this making sense? Like, how do we think differently or learn to decipher between hearing that voice or hearing that in our, you know, mind, body, spirit, whatever, and just being so stubborn about something because we think we want it so bad that we're like, well, no, I know my sage mind is telling me I gotta keep going, right? Like, how do you learn to pull those two things apart?
I think it's getting back into the heart. I sound like a broken record, but it's
No, I
really
love
getting
it.
grounded back in the body to see what do you really feel? Who are you really?
Mm-hmm.
And there will be fear that comes up, and the fear is what makes us get stuck. Well, when the knowing becomes louder than the fear, now you're cooking because now you're like, I'm going to go do the thing even though I have the fear. And that's courage.
Mm-hmm.
When the fear is so loud that we can't even consider this thing over here, now we're stuck. And then we feel like crap because like
Yeah.
ooh, this looks really good, but I can't. This would be too scary. It's almost like you're touching a desk in a room, and over on the other side of the room is a brownie sundae, which are delicious. And you're like, oh, I want to reach over there, but I cannot let go of this desk because
Yeah.
I have to keep my hand on something grounded, something safe and secure and certain. So I'm going to try and just reach over. If I don't reach, okay, I can't have it. I got to stay here with my hand on the desk. Again, silly metaphor, but you get what I'm
No,
saying.
I
We can
love it.
see
Yeah.
it, but we're not willing to just take our hand off the desk and walk over to the sundae. That's all it takes is take your hand off the desk, but that can seem like a really scary move.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say
Yes.
in those situations, ask yourself, okay, what happens if I do that? If I take my
Mm.
hand off the desk, if I do the scary thing, what happens? Play through, let your brain see what it is that you're so terrified of,
Yeah. Right.
because
Yes.
then
It's
you
like
can
that.
try and work around it.
Yeah. It's that exercise, that old exercise of just keep writing and then what? And then what? Right. Like, how bad can it actually get? Right.
Yes.
And you have to
Yes.
then force yourself to recognize that you have likely more support system around you than you even know is there, or you have levers to pull, or right, like that's knowing that
Yeah.
too, I think is half of it, being able to see what is actually in your
Or
reality, not just what
even
you've made up in your head.
even going back to knowing that you are the certainty. Like, well, I'll
Right.
figure it out. I don't have to see it all today, but I will
Mm-hmm.
figure it out because I know me and I am the certainty that I'm seeking, and I'll place all bets on me.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. You were talking a little bit about, your time at Intel, and then we talked through some of the rest of your career journey, and now here you are today building your own practice, building your own business. And of course, there's so much that goes into building on our own, but I'm curious if there's anything that you've had to kind of unlearn for yourself as you think about what it means to go from corporate. I know there is a moment, there's years along the way here, but specifically as you're leaving what it means to be in the, working world, quote unquote, to building something on your own.
That's a good question. I don't know that it's been an unlearning. Maybe it's additional learning on top.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Okay.
already working on the knowing of what I wanted and the certainty is me. And now it's learning, how do I do a business on my own?
Yeah.
Haven't done this. I don't know. So I use Claude a lot for
Mm-hmm.
that to figure it out.
Yes. Best
And I
girlfriend in the
have,
world.
oh yeah, she's my co-founder, Claudette. I love her. And she talks to me straight too, which is great. But I also, I have some different support systems and accountability in place, which helps me, but it's also just leaning into me and focusing on, what do I want to bring to these women and why? The
Mm-hmm.
how, obviously, I'm figuring out as I go. And I'm sure there's things that I don't know that I don't know.
Right.
But when I stay focused on the impact that I want to make and why I want to do this, it's the get the hell out of my way attitude.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it just I don't have any concerns. It's so weird. I was just explaining to a friend recently. You would think, like, on paper, I should be worried because I don't have like a regular paycheck coming in. And you would think that maybe I would be like, oh gosh, where's my next whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so in the frequency of everything is happening exactly as it should be. And I'm living my mission and I'm having the impact that I want to have, that the fear just melts away.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that transition happened or what the trigger was. I'm going to guess that it's because I've been working on it for a long time, because I
Mm-hmm.
spent, 45 years plus living in fear. Turns out I was a
Mm.
little girl that was fearful. I see it now.
Mm.
But it's all this work that we do. I don't
Yeah.
ever want you to stop doing the work, because
Right.
it grows and grows and grows, and you end up coming to a higher frequency. And that frequency impacts the whole world. It's contagious. I really
Yeah.
believe that we start to raise the frequency of the collective. When we're down here in the lower frequency, where we don't believe that things are possible, or we're complaining all the time, or life is so hard, wouldn't you know, that's always my luck. You're down here, and it's almost like you're what would be an example? Let me come up with a metaphor, because I love metaphors. You're like a little turtle on the forest floor, and all you can see is other leaves and the bases of trees. But an eagle soaring can see
Mm.
that, plus the treetops, the blue sky, the beautiful clouds, the sunset. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want everyone up here soaring,
Mm-hmm.
because it also role models for our children, for the other people around us, that you can have more unapologetically. It doesn't mean you're a prick. It means
Yeah.
that you are holding this greater capacity for beautiful things in your life, instead of living down here at a lower level. And no
I love
disrespect for
that.
turtles. I think they're adorable.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
That's such a good metaphor, though. And I think actually we're touching on something that feels really important, which is the language we use. And
Mhm.
I think sometimes when we hear wanting more, we associate that with money, things, materialistic, bigger house. Like when we say more, I think we need to be really clear about what we
Yeah.
mean when we say that, which is, to your point, it's expansiveness. It's maybe more for me actually looks like less things, but more capacity to be with my family. Or maybe that looks like less of this thing that in our head we're thinking means more, but it means more time to be in my community or to do the things I care about. Like when we say more, I think we get a little hung up because it that then sounds like I'm ungrateful because I want more shit, which, and that could also be true, to be very
Yeah.
clear. Like maybe that's your thing and that's the thing you're going for. Love that. Great. That is not a problem. But I think that is not necessarily the truth across the board. And so figuring out what your more is, I think is also kind of part of the equation.
I agree. And something like a bigger house could mean more community events, more family
Sure.
coming together to have a
Yes.
beautiful meal. I mean, it all has a why behind it. It's not just
Yes.
about the thing. Or someone says, I really want a boat. Okay, why do you want a boat? Because I get to have these memories with my family. So I'm not against the things at all.
Totally.
You have
Totally.
to find out what your more is, as you said. And I think that also the currency that I'm looking for is happiness. The
Mm-hmm.
money will follow. Happiness is the currency that I
Mm-hmm.
seek now. And that starts to trickle down to
Yeah.
everything else. And everything
Right.
else gets impacted by that. And I
Yes.
don't think it's a bad thing to want more.
No,
Why have we made
100%.
that? Why have we made that a
Yes.
bad thing?
No, 100%. I think it is not a bad thing at all. It's in the same way when I work with women that are thinking about leaving corporate and building on their own, it's like, what is the enough, not that it's your cap, but what's the enough to make you feel like you are going to be comfortable living in your world and in your life so that you're not like in that scarcity mindset all the time, right? So like what's the enough? But then yes, let's think bigger and more, right? And typically women, I'm like, yo, that is so little. Like, are you serious? Like, no, like,
Yeah,
I mean, okay. But if that's enough, like, then we're gonna like blast that out of the water and you're
right.
gonna blow your own mind. So, like, let's get in the practice, your point of saying, no, 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 no. Like, that is, sure, you need to be. I think the reason why I come to that at times more often than not with certain folks is you also then, because we're all ambitious and the women we typically work with do have high capacity, that goalpost just then always moves, right? It's
Mhm.
like, okay, well then your enough is now. Well, you reached that, you didn't even think about it, you just blew past it, and now your
Yes.
next enough is XYZ. So like always being able to come back to the reality of I have enough to live comfortably in my own way, whatever that looks like. And then we get to expand past that. But yes, all the way back to your point, there's nothing wrong with saying we want more. And I hope that's what folks hear from all of that because,
Hmm.
yeah, we can tell ourselves constantly that that's not okay to say out loud. And I love that people are talking about it more. Rachel Rogers, right? We both love her. You're,
Yes.
in one of her own programs, but
Yeah.
I mean, her book totally changed the way I think about things like wealth and finances and
Yeah.
all of the rest. Because even again, we're not saying it's just about money, but it is a big part of it. And her whole point around women in particular is there's hundreds and hundreds of years of built up financial oppression. So it's going to take us some time, and it's
Yes.
okay. Give ourselves some grace here for sure. I have so many questions on my list that I did not get to ask you, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask you the one question that I ask everyone. And I'm sure you probably know what's coming, or maybe you don't, but it is
Ooh, I don't
around.
know.
Okay, good. So it's just around the word legacy. And I know it's a bit of a trendy word right now, but for me, I like to think of it as, not the thing that we're leaving behind or this big, heavy, endowment to our kin, but the big, beautiful, light thing that we're building every day and how we're, thinking about our impact and what we're excited about and the work we want to do, how we want to show up in the world. So I like to ask everyone, Sue, what does building a legacy mean to you?
Showing up with love.
Hmm.
I mean, at my funeral, I hope that's what people remember. I hope that
Mm-hmm.
they say she always showed up in a loving way, heart centered. And yes, I want to leave some kick ass thing for my kin too. I want to do that as well. But it's really about what do they remember around how did I make people feel?
Yeah.
It's not so much a thing I can point to. It's more of a feeling and an impact. And
Mm-hmm.
how did my time with them impact them?
Yes.
And on my end of it, I want to keep having a great time and I want to expand and I want to learn and I want to do the things that bring me joy and I want to spend time with my family and all of those things too. I want it to be win-win on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love it. And that's so apparent in every single moment that I get to spend with you. So it is the joy and the excitement is contagious. And I think to your point, when we're living, yes, in service and excitement for others, but also in service of ourselves, that then gets to spread joy differently because you
Yeah.
are excited and you are stoked to be here and you're
Yeah.
like thrilled to be learning. And so people then get to benefit from that, right? And so I know that that's how I feel literally every single time I get to see you. So I am thrilled that you came and hung out with me today. Thank you so, so much. I know you've
It's
got
been
so much
so
going
fun.
on.
We
Oh,
could talk for another 2 hours.
wait. We did
Wait.
not say you do have a cohort that you are kicking off
I
very
do.
soon. Tell us
Yeah.
when. And can you give us 2 minutes about it so folks kind of
You
know
bet.
like what to be? Yes.
So September 8th, I'm kicking off my next cohort of my women's mastermind called Radiant Year. And this is for those high capacity women who are successful on paper, but they're exhausted from performing. And it's for the women who they're ready for an identity shift, not another strategy, not another productivity system, not another book. They have all the knowledge in the world. This is more about creating a transformation that impacts their identity. So the program is about giving her clarity around what she wants and that new identity that fits who she's becoming. There's that becoming, the coming home, the standards that she's setting for herself instead of inheriting them from others. And then, of course, being in the room of women who are holding her accountable, who are in the same stage that she's in. So that's kicking off September 8th. And I'm really excited because it has been really juicy work.
I can only imagine how incredible and transformative it must be for the women that are joining you. And I think your point about the community aspect of it is so important because as we were touching on earlier, when you don't have others that are walking through a similar season, it can feel really lonely and you can start to get in your head around like, am I crazy? Am I doing this right? Like what's going on? So to know that you have a trusted cohort of others around you that are facing something similar or asking themselves the same questions and having you as their guide, I can't even imagine how amazing that must be. So we'll
It's
make
so
sure
fun.
that and also
So
fun.
fun.
Yes, that
So
is
fun.
really important because yes, the transformation is important, but like working with Sue is also a hoot, as you might imagine. And you will leave laughing and smiling at every turn and maybe crying, but in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way, always.
I love you. Thank you for sharing.
Oh,
And we'll put
thank
all
you.
the info in there for folks too.
It has been so much fun. I love you too. And thank you for having me.
All right, my friend. See you soon.
Okay, bye.